Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg on your council recap with my friend Chad Brecklin, your city administrator. He's here to break down the last council meeting, and we're going to jump right into it because we got a few things to get through, and we were told we have to speed up on this, so we got to go.
Keep it moving.
We start with Plan Commission, an approval of a final plat request, Resolution R172-24. Tell us about this.
Yeah, the first couple items here that we'll talk about on the council agenda relate to the Plan Commission, and specifically to a development called the Jamestown Quarry. That is across from the Target on McKee Road and the reclaimed quarry site, similar to what the Target and the Hy-Vee have been built on. There is a developer who is working through the initial stages of a potential project there. The plat that was approved at the council meeting on the 8th of October is one of the first steps in moving forward with that particular project. It basically creates the buildable parcels that are needed. And then moving on to the second item, which was related to this as well, one of the first projects there is going to be a multifamily housing building. If I recall correctly, there's roughly 200 units in that particular project, although I'm not positive on that. But ultimately, both the plat request and the specific implementation plan for the multifamily project were approved by the Common Council.
Fantastic. And if you want to check out of course, all these meetings do play out on our Gov channel, F1, so you can check back at Plan Commission and look at these before they get to council, but approved at council when it's all said and done. Board of Public Works have authorized acceptance of the 2024 sidewalk and related concrete bid.
Yeah, that ultimately was postponed by the Common Council due to a clerical error that had been caught in advance of the Common Council meeting. So that'll be postponed until the next Common Council meeting on the 22nd of October, but ultimately we anticipate that that will be approved at that point, and we'll be able to wrap up any of the sidewalk replacement projects that we have.
Yeah, it finishes off for this year.
Yep.
All right, then we know this one was coming up as well, the 2025 solid waste collection rates, setting that here for our next resolution.
Yeah, so this was an item that ultimately, believe it or not, had no increase in cost. There was some minor modifications made to this contract, and this is a new contract with Pelletieri for another 5-year period. But one of the modifications that was made with this new contract is we'll no longer offer unlimited recycling curbside. I believe they found that less than 2% of our community was utilizing that service. Of course, we were paying for it community-wide. So that was removed from the contract. And I believe one more yard waste pickup was added in the fall. And again, that was those two changes were able to keep rates flat. So there'll be no increase in our solid waste collection rates. And for anybody who did have a lot of recycling that may have been utilizing the unlimited service, there are some options available down at our Public Works facility. Specifically, cardboard is one of the things that can be dropped off there if that's a way to try to save a little bit of space in their recycling bin.
Absolutely, yeah, and we're working on a video as we speak, Chad, to break down what the new contract looks like and the yard waste, the whole gamut. So we'll look forward to sharing that with you coming up here in January. Over to a resolution approving Madison Gas and Electric Service estimate for the North Fish Hatchery. We call it the hub. It's not going to be the hub, but it's it's the best reference point we can have.
Yeah, that was the name of the project when it was first proposed, and I know that there's some work going on to ultimately name this particular park and center, the building itself. It is under construction. I don't know if anyone has had the opportunity to drive by on Traceway Drive, but it is under construction. I was just by there today, as a matter of fact, and some walls are already going up. But ultimately, the Common Council did approve the estimate for service to run electrical service to the building itself. So obviously a critical part of the overall programming there is to have electricity. And this was part of the project budget and ultimately, again, approved by Common Council.
Apparently you got to have that. I mean, utilities, right?
In this day and age, yeah, electricity is a pretty critical component of our lives.
All right, resolution R-17524, purchase of pedestrian lights for Phase 1 in the plat of 4th addition to Terravesa. That's a long title, but
It
pedestrian
is.
lights.
The title of this resolution ultimately matched the length of conversation that was had on this item.
Okay.
There was a healthy discussion as it relates to dark sky compliant lighting. And these lights were selected back in 2019 through some collaborative process to identify the particular street lights that would be utilized in this development. They are not dark sky compliant, meaning the light may radiate from those a bit more than dark sky compliant lighting. I'm not aware of any complaints that have been received, but ultimately the Common Council elected to postpone this particular item to allow staff to identify if there are any styles that might be dark sky compliant that would work in the Terravesa development. So this will come back after staff has had a chance to take a look at it. It was not time sensitive. We're just trying to get out ahead of some things with this one, so we have a little bit of time before we need to get an order placed. But ultimately, again, this was postponed.
Absolutely. We'll keep you posted on that postponement. Got it right. All right, I'm right. Approving agreement for real estate services for Fitchburg Road reconstruction project.
Yeah, next year we're beginning the Fitchburg Road reconstruction project. I believe that runs from Nesbitt Road to Tonto Trail. And as part of that particular project, some real estate will need to be acquired, the bulk of which will be at the intersection of Lacey and Fitchburg. So as we do with most of our construction projects or road reconstruction projects that require real estate acquisition, we contract for that service. That's not something that staff has the capacity or the expertise to necessarily be participating in. To the extent that we need to identify appropriate pricing and do the negotiations and all of that for the land that needs to be acquired. So we have put out an RFP, and ultimately here we're awarding the contract to the vendor that submitted the bid for it.
Fantastic. We move on to an agreement, postponement here, but an improvement agreement of a subdivision improvements plot for Jamestown Quarry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is that development that we had talked about earlier across from Target. The subdivision improvement agreement covers things like, what sorts of street improvements, intersection improvements, and so forth might be necessary. This is not uncommon to see these get postponed while the final details get ironed out. So that's what's happened here. It's been postponed to the 22nd council meeting.
All right, over to Park Commission on a couple of items there. Approval of Stoner Prairie Park Plan implementation.
Yeah, so we are working on a number of park projects, and this being one of them, the Stoner Prairie Park Plan, which is in the Stoner Prairie neighborhood, South Stoner Prairie to be exact. Ultimately, we are moving forward with a park. Those are typically, for the most part, paid through park improvement or park impact fees and or fee in lieu of parkland dedication. And this project, I believe, has about $400,000 available, and we'll be looking at a shelter, playground, and I think one other amenity that is currently escaping me at this point in time. But ultimately, this project has been moved or approved by Common Council to move forward.
Fantastic. And then finally, we have an amending the 2024 general fund budget for Parks LTE hours.
Yeah, so our Parks Department, Parks Maintenance in particular, had a full-time employee vacate their position. They moved on to a different opportunity. And as you can imagine, with over 800 acres of park open space and conservancy, there is plenty to do in the Parks Maintenance Department. We had an LTE who was able to stay on staff for a longer period of time, and ultimately they are able to fill the full-time hours that this position had, while the city looks to ultimately permanently fill that vacancy through a hiring process. So in the end, at least we'll be able to have similar capacity to what we had prior to the departure of this employee until we get that position filled. So council, as you may have noted already, approved that budget request to fund that.
Fantastic. Next Common Council meeting is on October 22nd, followed by a Committee of the Whole meeting the next night on October 23rd, which you can, of course, come here in person at City Hall or join us on Fact TV for that. And we'll have continued updates each of the Common Council meetings as we continue our council recap. Nice job. We got it under 10. Chad, they're all going to be proud of us here.
Just following my lead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.